For many people, it would be nearly impossible to imagine their lives without their pets. Nearly everyone has owned some type of pet at some point in time. Whether it was a fish, hamster, snake, dog, or cat, there is seemingly some type of pet that would suit any lifestyle. Pet ownership in the United States is so common that we have specialized stores just for animal supplies, parks specifically made for dogs, even pet-specific hotels. Pets are completely ingrained into our daily lives and are often treated as regular family members. However, it was not always this way. Although humans have interacted closely with other species for centuries, the personification of family pets is a relatively new phenomenon. The United States is the most extreme example of this practice, but the trend is rapidly expanding on a global scale. Even the countries of the Far East, which have historically been much less tolerant of pets in the home, are beginning to participate in the pet frenzy. The best example of this is China. Historically, owning pets, particularly dogs, has been culturally frowned upon and even illegal. Even so, the pet culture in China is exploding. Pet stores are popping up on every street corner. There are even street vendors selling dogs from mobile carts. So, what sparked this mass movement? What events led up to this new fascination with our furry friends? What are the cultural repercussions? In order to begin to answer these questions and to understand how the trend began and just how popular pets are becoming in both the United States and China, it is necessary to examine and compare the historical and economical changes that sparked this shift in each country's respective culture. In addition to historical and economical changes, anthropological theories can also be used to decipher the answer to these questions. Prior to the 1870s, owning a family pet was extremely rare. Instead, most families focused their energy and time on the livestock animals that contributed directly to both the family's food sources and income, as most families made their living through agriculture. The transition began with political and ideological changes that began placing emphasis on teaching children responsibility and forming a strong work ethic in order to prepare them for the expanding industrial labor force. In addition to teaching responsibility, pets were also used to instill values of domestic kindness and nurturing. As urbanization and industrialization became more common during the early 20th century, more families migrated to cities and had more access to various resources, and owning pets transitioned from ideological teaching tools to profitable goods, and the commercialization of the pet industry began. The first commercially available pet product that was sold in select general stores was dry dog food in 1949. It was manufactured by the original pioneer of mass-produced dry dog food called Spratz Limited. General Mills soon bought out the company and renamed the formula Purina. By 1960, pet food and other products, like cat litter, were common in grocery and drugstores around the country. As a result of the expansion and accessibility to these products, only 19 years after the start of the pet boom, 1 in 12 American households own dogs. Currently, the pet product market is one of the most profitable industries in the American economy. Every year, Americans spend $45 billion on pet products. The pet industry is one of the very few sectors of the economy that has continued to grow in spite of the recession, with profits up $2 billion from 2008. And with profit potentials of this scale, it is not surprising that American pet culture has begun to spread, specifically to countries whose main industry is export manufacturing, like China. Up until very recently, China has not been a pet-friendly culture. Although many breeds' origins can be traced back to China, dogs were mainly used for work and not as pets. Chinese culture has long been an agricultural society, and the dog breeds created there served specific purposes associated with field work and other agricultural tasks. The remainder of the breeds, like the Chow and the Tibetan Mastiff, were bred for protection and watchdogs to serve the various Chinese dynasties that ruled the country for the majority of their existence. This practice continued all the way up and through the communist era of modern China. The other cultural aspects that influence the country's lack of having pets is the fact that the vast majority of Chinese people remain in extreme poverty, and pets cost money to take care of. The only animals that were owned by poor peasants, if they have any at all, were farm animals like oxen that were used to plow fields, similar to the origin of pet ownership in the U.S. An additional reason that Chinese people rarely had pets is the cultural standard that animals should not be kept indoors because of the dirt and disease that they carried. More recently, during communist rule in China, Owning pets, and dogs in particular, was strictly against the law, and it was enforced by brutal physical measures that included the authorities publicly beating dogs to death in front of the owners if they were caught, and even shooting banned pets with guns and dragging them behind cars. Most of these extreme measures, however, were eased when the iron fist of communism became more lax. Also, as China transitioned to global manufacturing powerhouse and became a critical part of the world market and began trading and exporting more goods to the Western world, specifically the United States, owning pets became more and more common as a middle class began to form for the first time in the country's history. Aside from historical aspects, the other major factor responsible for the growth of the pet industry of China is the westernization trend that is sweeping through the Far East. With the advent of the internet and websites like YouTube and Facebook, it is now possible for many more people, youth in particular, to observe and mimic popular culture and assimilate various aspects of American culture, including having pets. Owning a pedigree dog is now considered vogue among China's rich and famous, and in the year 2007 alone, the Chinese spent $757 million on approximately 11 billion pets. In terms of using anthropological theories to explain the cultural developments of pet ownership, the functionalism theory, specifically Radcliffe Brown's structural functionalism, best explains both situations. Radcliffe Brown's theory, as described in the text, is defined as some aspect of culture or social life that plays a role in maintaining a cultural system. In the United States, the history of pets has always been to teach some aspect of culture. In the 1800s, pets were used to teach responsibility and work ethic as the labor force underwent a transition from agriculture to industry. Following that, pets were used to teach the American family values of domestic kindness and nurturing. Currently, pets in the U.S. are used to symbolize economic status and even to fill in as adopted children for couples who have chosen not to have children at this point in time. In all of these circumstances, pets are an aspect of culture and social life that play a role in maintaining the current values of the culture. The same is true in China. As China progressively moves towards westernization and more people have access to better paying manufacturing jobs and creates a middle class, owning pets represents that the owners are moving forward in establishing themselves in the new cultural system that is forming in modern-day China. After researching and comparing both the United States pet culture and the blossoming Chinese pet culture, both countries' current cultural ideals of pets have been formed by each country's respective history. The pet culture in both countries serves different purposes in maintaining and perpetuating each country's constantly evolving culture. With profits in the millions for China and in the billions in the United States, the sky is the limit when it comes to pampering our furry family members, and the pet industry is showing no signs of slowing down.